Okay, I figured real quick I'd do my little mediocre travel agent advice for visiting Hawaii. I make videos from out of here whenever I visit. I tend to visit every year or two. And I used to live here. So this is for my students who have to suffer through my classes and any of them that want to visit Hawaii. Now, I will say where the angle I take on this. I am not a touristy type. I am not your standard consumer type. I'm the type of person that I'm a cheap person. To just keep it simple, I like to think of myself as efficient, but I'm more of a. Most people probably label me as cheap, even though I disagree with that. So whenever I go out here, I don't spend tons of money. I typically just pay for the plane ticket. I stay with friends, and we cook a lot of food and whatever. Don't go out to eat a whole lot. So I'm coming at this from an efficiency standpoint. So that may excite some of you. It may not excite some of you. And I'll try not to make this video too long because I could talk for hours at this. So first things first, you need to figure out how much time you're going to spend out here. There's very much the money side of this because I don't have to pay for housing when I come out here. I tend to come out for like a week or two or sometimes 3 weeks at a time. Now, since you're paying for housing, you probably can't do that or you don't have that kind of time off. And where you stay is totally up for you. I'm, probably more of an Airbnb person and get a bunch of people to show up and split it many ways. And that's how I like to do things. A lot of people, when they come to Hawaii, they go to Waikiki. This is tourism central right here. My parents in the 70s did their honeymoon over here somewhere. My fiance used to actually live down here and kind of worked. Where'd she work? Kind of worked over here and on the other edge of Ala Moana. So there are folks around here and whatnot, but this is not what I'd recommend if you visit Hawaii, or if you do, make this kind of your first location. The beach here in Waikiki, I think, is not great. There's a lot of people there. However, if you kind of consider yourself sort of the standard consumer, you got kids and all they want is McDonald's for breakfast and lunch and dinner or whatever. Okay, this is kind of the place to go. This is where all your high rises are. There's plenty of buses and Ubers and whatever that you can do out here. But I will say that there's better beaches elsewhere. I think Waikiki Beach is one of the worst ones. However, Diamond Head is right here by Waikiki, and you can literally walk through here and get to that. It's definitely a bit of a hike, but it is walkable. So I guess I'd say if you are staying in Waikiki, it's possible to do Waikiki without renting a car. But if you are going to visit Hawaii, I'd very much recommend getting a rental car. Now, if you are like me and you're super efficient and you're not super pressed on time, you can bus most of this island. I've lived in places where I've not owned a car. I didn't own a car for the first year I lived in Alaska, so I'm capable of doing weird extremes like this. So there is a bus system around here. However, it lags a little bit, but I just say if you are a person who does mass transit, you can do mass transit here with the bus. And there's a new train system I haven't been on yet that goes from, I believe, the airport out here to Kapolei. So along with that, if this is your first time visiting Hawaii, I do recommend Oahu and Honolulu. What it doesn't have is the volcanoes that the Big Island has. However, the volcanoes are very much hard to see, hard to time. And right now, Kilauea is kind of popping off about once a week. I almost visited a few days ago. However, I was looking at the data from the eruptions. I determined that being on Oahu, at best, I could get from where I was on Oahu to the crater rim in 5 hours. The last eruption that had happened took place over 5 hours. So I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to take that risk. I've been out there and kind of poked at the lava before when it's been erupting elsewhere. So I've gotten to experience it a little bit. And I figure in the future I'll have other chances to go see the big fountaining eruptions, which occasionally happen here and also happen in Iceland. So yeah, my recommendation, first time you go to Honolulu. It will likely be cheaper than some of the other options. I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm sure there's cheap Airbnbs on Molokai, but that's not kind of your standard tourist place. I'd recommend not going to Molokai if it's especially if it's your first time, or Lanai. Lanai is a weird place. if you visit a handful of times throughout your life, it's definitely worth kind of checking these things out. There's a little ferry that goes between Maui and Lanai and Molokai. Like, take that. It's cheap. Kauai is another favorite of people, but again, you can research the difference between these islands. That's all Googleable, and I'd say what you find with those are pretty accurate. In my opinion, the Big Island's my favorite place, but because I have friends on Oahu, that's typically where I go. I do have some friends on the Big Island, but my main friends are here on Oahu. So, let's say you've figured out you're going to get here, you're going to spend 3 days, a week, whatever. What do you do while you're here? Okay, a lot of people, to kind of get the cultural experience, will go up to Laie and go to the Polynesian Cultural Center. Don't do that. I have beefs with them. A lot of people will enjoy it and you'll argue with me, but I'd say it's not the legit experience. I'm not going to get into why. It's a little bit controversial. But I will say, if you want a better cultural experience, or at least to learn about kind of the cultural history of the islands and some volcano history and stuff and whatnot. And again, I'm a little bit biased. But go to Bishop Museum. It's Hawaii's Natural History Museum. It's like $20 a ticket or something. They got a cool planetarium there. But the main thing is Hawaiian Hall. I don't think you really have to go here and do this. I almost recommend this as like a second visit or something. Here's what I really recommend. Why I recommend this if you're there. If it's raining. If you want to go to the beach, you're like, oh man, it's raining. Like there's just some big weather system that's dumping on Hawaii for a few days, which is a little bit rare, but occasionally it happens. But if you can't go to the beach, go to Bishop Museum. Hawaiian Hall is where it's at. It's a very incredible place. I was a science educator here. I didn't actually work in Hawaiian Hall very much. But I mean, it's a place you walk into, and people, you don't have to be quiet, but people are just naturally quiet because it feels like a church or something. And they swap out exhibits here, and they're just fantastic. And there's new areas that have been built. If you're a fan of Moana, or you got kids that are into Moana, it's a great thing. We've definitely leaned, when I was at the museum, we leaned heavily into the voyaging there. We partnered with Polynesian. Okay, too much info. Let's back up. Go to Bishop Museum if you can. What do you want to do while you're here? I'm going to tell you what you want to do while you're here. You're going to want to go to the beaches. That's why you're here. There are beaches all around the island, especially on Oahu. A little less so on the Big Island because it's just not as eroded and there's less coral reefs that have built up. So it's harder to find white sand beaches on the Big Island. They are there. And maybe I'll do a thing about that later on if people ask. But on Oahu, my recommendation for beaches is the place my friends and I used to go to a lot, which is over here at Bellows. If you go over the weekend, however, through the week. Hey, Danielle?
What?
Bellows is open on the weekend or weekdays? Weekends. So, Bellows you can't go to on the weekdays. It's an Air Force station. However, on the weekends, it's open, and it's where a lot of locals go. It's a very pretty beach. You kind of come over to here to Kaneohe side, and you kind of wiggle back here. And it's nice. You've got a great view of some little mountains over here and some other stuff on the other side. Highly recommend it. Great beach. Good for kids. Swell's usually not too big. Good for bodyboarding if you got a little bodyboard. Almost always that's where we went. So if you want to just have the quintessential play in the waves, go to the beach. It's very pretty. I recommend Bellows on the weekends. There are other beaches along here. You could do Waimanalo. There's some other famous ones along here. You can Google them all. Lanikai Beach is a famous one, and also very pretty. There's not as much going up here along this side. This is a pretty drive. I do recommend driving around the island just to experience it. There's lots of food trucks up here in Kahuku. Kahuku is one of my favorite schools to kind of go talk at when I used to live up here. And there's a couple little, if you want to explore, there are little things here and there that people, don't really catch. This is more of a resorty area. Where is that one spot? I got a spot up here somewhere that I used to stop at and sleep on my motorcycle. Anyway, there's lots of little things tucked away if you do want to explore and do this. Get on here, click on these things, see what you can find, Google them, see what people say about them. Now, this is the North Shore. This is kind of an earthy, crunchy, sort of touristy place. Get shaved ice up here. Smaller shops and things. Not nearly as built up and urban like urban like it is down here in Honolulu. This is more villagey type. And this is where you can get the big, huge, giant waves if the weather is right and it's the right time of year. Highly recommend visiting this area. There's parking up here can be a bit of a nightmare. So if you're there over the weekdays, this is where I say go up here during the weekdays. So weekend, Bellows. Weekdays, North Shore. Go to the beaches up here. Three Tables, I think, is my favorite. It's good for... Where's Three Tables? I haven't been up here in a while. It's good for snorkeling. It's kind of protected a little bit. Yeah, the waves can get a little choppy up there, but if they're not too heavy, I mean, look at that. You can see the waves on the satellite. But there's just kind of a stretch of beaches up here that you can visit. Where's Three Tables? In addition to this, here's what you do. Is that it? I guess that's it. Here's what you do for food when you go up here. Foodland, Pupukea. Go to Foodlands, get the poke. Poke is kind of chopped up sushi. You can put it over rice. You can get the bowl if you the poke bowl if you want. Man, when I go back to Hawaii, yeah, there's lots of different types of food. There's lots of great Asian food. I don't care so much. I get the poke. If you don't know what poke is, there are a couple of Hawaiian restaurants here around Northwest Arkansas, at least one. You can go try their poke. It sucks compared to what you can get at the grocery store here. However, you can at least kind of get the vibe and what it's about. Highly recommend it. So go park along here somewhere, walk your butt up to Foodland, get a pound or two of poke, and you'll be surprised at how expensive it is, but it's worth it. And then just go walk to whatever beach you want. Sharks Cove, Three Tables. It's great. So I'd recommend that during the weekdays. And there's also like shopping and cool little places along here. You can drive along, you see it. Again, parking can be a little bit of a hassle, but if you're patient, you can find it. If you happen to be here when they're doing one of the big surf competitions, one, try and go see them. Two, traffic will be nuts. Be a little bit careful of traffic on the weekends. Sometimes traffic gets bad, and we lived over here. We'd have to go up this way and go to Bellows, and there was like one time it took us like 3 hours to get there. A little bit obnoxious, but check traffic. There's only a couple of ways to kind of get around the island, but you kind of see them here. So just check traffic. Be aware. If you want to save money on going to the beaches, Bellows actually has good cover in terms of trees and stuff, so you don't have to worry too much about shade. It is cool if you kind of get like a shade canopy or something and you can utilize that. There's lots of fold-up-y sort of fancy things on Amazon. I recommend those. Sunscreen your butt up, of course. Big hats I recommend. But, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to do the beach. You guys can email me or whatever if you really don't know how to do beach stuff. In the middle up here, there's a little dole plantation thing. It's very much a little touristy trap. It's really unique. If you got kids, it's a fun thing to do with the kids. If you don't got kids, go in there. Get gummy bears if you're into gummy bears because they have like all pineapple gummy bears. Or they have dole ice cream, which is also pretty good. So you're cruising across the island, going up the North Shore. You want to stop, get some ice cream, see the thing. Wow, cool, neat. Moving on. Get your butt up here to North Shore. This side of the island. Most people say don't go here if you're a tourist. I actually stay out here at Makaha, and if you tell people in town, like when you're renting a car, be like, "Oh, where are you staying?" At Makaha, they look at you funny. This is kind of the more poorer side of Oahu. There are some, like the Disney Resort is out here, but things get more local as you go out here. And so a lot of the videos you see I do out here at Makaha Beach Park. My friend has a grandmother whose family's been out here for like over 100 years now. So I don't really recommend going to this side. And so, it's safe. It's fine. Just be careful if you park a car. You don't leave anything valuable in there. Could it get broken? All that kind of thing. But the stuff you see on this side, for the most part, if you're a tourist, you see better things elsewhere. But if you have time and you want to explore, go do it. The road does not go all the way around this side of the island, so don't go out here thinking you can go around. If you go out here, you can park and you can walk around, and it takes like half a day to walk around. If you want to chill beach kind of yourself, there's Mokulea Beach out here. There's hardly any people out there. I used to actually camp out here. That's kind of how, there's not a lot of people out there. You can camp in a lot of other places you're not really supposed to camp. Yeah. So those are my thoughts and ideas. Is for the most part, get out of Honolulu. There are some neat little restaurants around here, but that's not really my thing. I don't have great recommendations for that. All I would say is just rely on Google recommendations or, Yelp or whatever. But you find a lot of that down. There's lots of cool stuff going into Kaka'ako in this area, newer stuff. But if you're staying in Waikiki, I'm gonna say get out of Waikiki pretty quick. Hiking. There's lots of great little trails up here onto the mountainsides, very kind of jungly sort of feel. When I used to, is this where I used to live? I don't think that's where I used to live. I used to live. I used to live up here, and there's this little Hawaii Nature Center here. There's a great little hike up here. I think it's this loop right here. I love doing it. You can find, and a lot of these hikes, you can find strawberry guavas that you can just pick out of the tree and eat them. Or if you're really lucky, you'll find the guava guavas, which are little yellow things, have less seeds, a little bit more delicious. You can eat those. You will smell them. If you keep your nose out, you'll smell them when they hit the ground and they're fermenting. And you'll smell them before you even see them. The guavas are a little harder to find. Sometimes you have to take the little side trails and get farther back, and then you'll run into them. But yeah, totally recommend some of the hikes. Other touristy things. No, not a whole lot of people go into Punch Bowl Crater. This is a Korean, for the most part, a Korean national cemetery. Some of my Veterans Days I've kind of spent out here, or sorry, Memorial Days I've spent out here, going to ceremonies. There is Pearl Harbor. It's up to you whether you want to do Pearl Harbor or not. It's a totally different feeling and vibe than anything else you do on the island. Because when you go see the Arizona, it is a spiritual kind of moment. And it's sad, right? It's a very, very sad event. Pearl Harbor is definitely a great thing. It's hard to get in and get out quickly. There's a lot to see here. Definitely do the Arizona Memorial. There's also the battleship you can go see, which is really kind of cool. And there's like a submarine and destroyer and some other stuff. So the Missouri is cool. But this can easily take a day. And I'd say it just depends on how much you want to spend here, how much of a history buff you are, and how much, why are you here in Hawaii? And Pearl Harbor may be the primary reason. So, up to you. But the Arizona Memorial is the main thing. And it is hard to get in here and get out in just a few hours. I'd say you can do it in a few hours, but I don't have a lot of experience with this, so Google the stuff you want to do here. But it's very easy to spend a day here. It's very easy to spend a day at Bishop Museum, although it's easy to kind of do a couple hours at Bishop Museum and get out. But when you're shelling out $20-25 a ticket, you kind of want to spend some more time, Not much up in here. This is mostly just residential area that's kind of connected to Pearl Harbor and some of the other military bases. Nothing really down here that I'd say you'd really want to deal with. Yeah, for the most part, if you do Oahu, you're probably staying down here somewhere unless you want to pay a little more money, get an Airbnb on this side, or pay a good chunk of money, get something up here. But what you're probably going to do is find something cheaper to stay at down here, get a rental car. Turo is also good if you want to save money on rental cars versus the big fleet people. But then, yeah. Down here. If you're a crazy hikey person, you can do Cocoa Head Crater. Great view up there, but it's like a super vertical climb. But it's on like stair steps. So cool, awesome view. Some good food around here as well. The main kind of snorkeling area, touristy snorkeling area, is Hanauma Bay. You have to get tickets to do this now because basically they had too much pressure from people and it was kind of harming the environment. So now this is like you got to wake up at 5 a.m. and try to get the first ticket there. It can be a little bit difficult to deal with. In my opinion, I think you can get good snorkeling as long as the surf isn't too high. You can get good snorkeling up here along the North Shore and maybe out here and some of the... try out here actually, but... yeah, I'd say more North Shore Three Tables being the one I really recommend. And Sharks Cove, I think, is another good one. But yeah, feel free to do Hanauma Bay. I did it once. I never went back. There's some fun things along the drive here along this side. There's the blowhole lookout. You can park real quick. You can see water spitting out of a blowhole every time the wave comes in. Hey, neat. There's a cool little hike up here where you can park. You can hike up to, not that. Where is it? Oh, you can hike up here to Makapu'u. This is a paved trail. It can get a little hot. Bring water and sunscreen. But yeah, you park up here, you hike around. It'll take a couple hours, I think. It's like a 3 mile round trip, I think. There's an old little lighthouse up here. You can't quite get to the lighthouse. You'll actually hike up above it and you'll kind of look down at it. But this is kind of the lookout point. You can see the other islands from there. It's kind of neat. And if you're lucky in the right time of the year, between like December and February, you might see some whales out here, but more on whales in a second. Since I mentioned whales, if you really want to do whales, you go to Lahaina, you do a whale watching tour, you come out here, they take you on one of the little boats, not the big boats, do the little boats. And it'll be amazing and one of the best experiences of your life. To me, that's the reason you go to Maui. And again, be sure you're there during kind of humpback whale season, which is usually like November, December through to like February, March region. You can see them from Oahu, but usually they're like, you see a big splash or a spout way off in the distance. You're like, oh, look, it's a whale over there. I think, oh, look, there, it's spewed again. You do the whale watching tour over here. And is it worth it to fly over here and do that? Yeah, probably. It's usually like a couple $100 to fly to one of the other islands. When I last checked the other day, it was $200 to fly from Oahu to the Big Island. So you fly into Kahului here is kind of the main airport. And you can get over here however you want to do. I think there may actually be buses or, Uber yourself over to Lahaina, but that cost is going to add up. I don't know what Lahaina is like after the big fires. I've been meaning to look at that. Looks like, yeah, this satellite's been updated, so it's just a lot of bare lots, I think. Wow, that's weird. But I'm assuming they still do the whale watching tours out of there because they probably got that fixed up real quick. You cannot drive around all the way around this. It's a crazy trail system. And there's other things to do on Maui. I'm going to try to focus on Oahu. So yeah. So do the drive around here. Good food in Waimanalo area. Some of the little joints along here you see along the roads I think are pretty good. What did I just eat there the other day? Ono Steaks and Shrimp Shack I thought was pretty good. If you like shrimp, there's the shrimp to get, which I'm allergic to, but the shrimp to get up here is on the food trucks in Kahuku. So if you want good shrimp, get it up there. Another good food to look out for that's Hawaiian food is lau lau. Get the pork, not the fish. It's pork that's wrapped in taro leaves, and then they cook it in banana leaves. You pull the banana leaves off, you eat the taro leaves and the stuff. The taro leaves are a little bit like, I hate to say this, a little bit like cooked spinach, but they taste better. It's sweeter. And then there used to be a guy out of a box truck I found over here when I used to come to this side of the island a lot, and he'd sell them for dirt cheap, and it was the best I ever had. So don't be afraid to go get the food from the sketchy looking places because it's usually better. Yeah. This is all kind of military stuff and housing up and through here. There's good stuff around in Kaneohe. Most hikes are good hikes. Just be careful that some of them can be a little bit dry if you're kind of on this side in this area. They can be a little bit dry and hot. You get up here into the green areas, you're like in a jungle, and it's very nice. Some of these will end up over here. You'll get up in these areas and you'll have just crazy views on the other side. Very beautiful. So I do recommend hiking if you're out here. Look for the trails that have awesome views at the end. But again, it can be a little bit dependent upon how crazy of a trail you want to do. There's something over here called the Stairway of Heaven. I recommend not doing that, and I think it's closed because it's dangerous. Less on hiking up around here. So yeah, the most part kind of just going up into hills right here. There are some stuff over here for hikes. However, it's very similar to the hikes that are over here. Yeah. I think that's probably it. If you want to watch your food budget and you want to cook at home a little bit, get to Costco or Sam's Club, buy your food from there. It'll be significantly cheaper than a lot of the stores around there. The tariffs are hitting hard here as well. And for example, when we were out here cooking in Makaha recently, my friend was ordering stuff from Amazon for like $1.25, and we go and find it in the local Foodland or the other store, and it'd be $6. So if you're trying to watch your budget, that's a really good way to do it, is just kind of cook while you're out here. Plate lunches in the right places can be kind of cheap. It's basically some kind of fried meat, mac cheese salad, and some rice, and you can usually still get those for around $10. The fried chicken stuff you find on the island in various places, super good, like garlic chicken, those kind of things, really good. Korean barbecue can be pretty good if you're into that. However, they don't have enough food for me. I'm more of a Hawaiian food kind of person, and I recommend kind of finding that as well. Although, if you like Asian food, again, there's fantastic Asian food around here in Honolulu. As a white guy, I am the minority on Oahu. There's a lot more Asian people and Native Hawaiians, of course, than me. Yeah. I think that's probably it. This is getting a little bit long, pushing on a half hour. If you've got any questions kind of after watching this, you can throw some stuff in the comments, or if you're in my class, just ask me, message me, email me, and I'll get back to you. I think I've covered a lot of bases there. Trying to just think about beaches a little bit. Diamond Head is a neat place to go. It is completely quiet on the inside. You can drive in. You can hike up to the little summit up here. As far as I remember, this isn't that much of a hike. You can see some of the World War II pillboxes still up here, and they're actually around a lot of the islands. You can find them in various places. But yeah, kind of a neat view. Kind of recommend this if you're nearby, especially kind of staying in Waikiki or something. It doesn't necessarily need its own visit. I think your time is better spent elsewhere on the island if you're staying for a week or less. But again, this is not too hard to come in and drive and do real quick and hike up there and see that and get out. So, you can do it. You can not do it. Surfing, I'm not that great of a surfer. I've done a little bit. There's good surfing out here, but it'll kill you if you're not careful. You really need to know the area. Easy surfing if you want to try surfing. Go to Waikiki. The waves are pretty solid there and pretty simple. Get yourself a longer board, and they'll let you rent them out here. So if you want to learn how to surfing, I do recommend Waikiki for learning how to surf. And just find one of the little joints out here that's there along the beach and rent the board for a little bit. And they probably do lessons and things too. And I will say it's if you are moderately or even poorly athletic, or we'll go with moderately. If you're in the same kind of athletic condition that I'm in, you can longboard surf. It is possible. If you've ever been on a skateboard and don't feel completely out of place, you can surf. And the waves there in Waikiki are pretty dang good for learning it because they're small. They go for a while typically, and it's pretty easy. Yeah. I think that's all I'll go with. So yeah, beaches, try for this side. During the weekend, during the not weekend, go up here, experience this area, explore around a little bit, go park, lay down on the beach till you get a little bit bored, and then walk to the next one, and then get in your car, go up here and try to find something else. So here's my general advice for kind of visiting Hawaii and visiting somewhere in general. So the first time I ever went to the Big Island, I did a 3-day trip and had a bazillion things planned. It was too much. We overextended ourselves. We tried to see too much. We didn't just chill out. We should have just realized, hey, we're going to come back at some point. Should have done half what we did. We should have just chilled out. A big part of going to Oahu and kind of experience the beaches and everything Hawaii kind of has to offer out there is being chill, man. To take in that mana, feel it. Do not try to do 1,000 things. Don't be a good little consumer like you are here in the middle of the U.S. Relax. You don't need to spend a lot of money here. It's easy to spend a lot of money here, but you don't need to do it. And don't try to fit too much in. My recommendation for the first time you go here is just explore a little bit and then park and chill for a couple hours, a few hours at a time. And don't feel like you need to go somewhere immediate. Your immediate loop, I'd say, is kind of this stuff, and most of the things you want are going to be along up here. They're going to be along in here a little bit, especially for the beaches, and there's I think some legit food around here. And then Honolulu may be your base of operations, Bishop Museum if you really want to learn about the islands. And also hikes along this side up here in these valleys are all pretty solid. That Tantalasa hike I've done 1,000. I used to do it at least once a week. I've done 1,000 times. This is a nice little loop with other little offshoots. Very simple. You'll see people along there. Don't be afraid to do it. So I'll leave it at that. I'm right at about half an hour, so hopefully that gives you some insight. I have been to these other islands. I may make more islands. I'm going to throw this on YouTube and make it public, and so if people want to comment, they can. If you want to encourage me to do some of these other islands, when I used to work at Bishop Museum, we did this outreach where we sent a van, and I went to visit schools on all these other islands. And I've lived about a collective year of my life on the Big Island, so I can talk about that one a lot too. Big Island is my favorite. But again, I'm more of a country kind of guy. All the people in Honolulu I didn't like it. I kind of called it a concrete jungle. And I try to get away from it. A lot of people also like Hawaii. I totally understand why. But to me, Big Island's a little bit more my jive, especially as a geologist with the volcanoes. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that, and I can talk more about the other ones later if people want me to. So, yeah, see you later. Bye. Aloha.